Hello and welcome to the Basketball Addicts podcast. And today we have a really good one. Chris is not going to be with us today because we had a little bit of a scheduling issue. It's a really crazy time, and Thursday is the NBA draft. So today we're going to give you the second round of the mock draft. We're going to go 31 through 58. There's a lot of really good players in the second round. There's a lot of good role players in this draft. So I'm really excited to give you guys these picks and breakdowns and all this type of stuff. And yeah, we're gonna get this done and out of the way so that we can all be excited for the NBA draft, which we're gonna be live streaming reactions to on YouTube. We'll be dropping links for that for Instagram and TikTok, so you guys can know where our YouTube is and how to get there most effectively. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, we're going to start it off with the mock draft. No reason to beat around the bush to say number 31, first pick in the second round is Harrison Ingram, 6'7", 7-foot small forward from Stanford. Shoots 31% from the 3-point line. Really good pick and roll operator. Really understands how to break down a defense. All those type of things. Not an elite athlete. Not even a really good athlete. But what his role is going to be is that team doesn't really have a ton of good passers on the team. You know what I mean? And having a guy off the bench that can be a connective player to their scoring guys to make good passes, to make everything else easier for everybody else, there is a open spot for that kind of guy on their bench. And he is that guy. He has high basketball IQ. He's not going to really ever be a great defender or a bucket getter, but a connective piece on a good team. As long as he is on a team that has a role for him, he'll be in the league. And that's him, Harrison Ingram, Stanford, small forward. All right. Number 32, we're going to go ahead and draft Ismail Kamagate. He is from France. On our big board, he is number... One second. Ismail Kamagate got it 38 on our big board. He is a really good center, man. Really good shot blocker at the rim. 6'11" from France, 21 years old. Rebounds well. Is going to be a lob threat. Not highly skilled, but offensively, he's always going to be able to set screens and be a rebounder, be an athlete at the rim with lobs, and also defensively has some switching potential where he does have smooth hips and can grow into a center that can switch. That there is upside of that there, and having him with Mo Bamba, having two guys that can really just be volleyball at the rim and just smack the ball out of there, be inside paint presences, is a really good 1-2 punch. So I would draft Ismail to have some congruency there from shot blockers at the rim if you're going to have Bamba as your center long term. All right. Number 33, we got Toronto Raptors. First pick in the draft for them because they didn't have a first-round draft pick. And then we're going to go with the 30th guy on our big board, 6'4", Jaden Hardy. He's from the G League. He's about 19. He makes every shot that he takes is a tough shot. He's a tough shot taker, tough shot creator, 6'4". Not a great athlete, so he's a good and above average athlete. Nothing special athletically. Shoots 30% from the 3-point line, 70% from the free throw line. He reminds me a lot of Austin Rivers. And a guy like that could really fit on the Toronto Raptors because they do need guards that can shot create. It's something that's very needed. Think about how important Gary Trent was to that team last year when they were making their run. So having another guy off the bench that can fill in that role long term is somebody that is really going to be valuable here. So, yeah, Jaden Hardy, giving them some punch off the bench. All right, Oklahoma City Thunder get a real value here for what their team needs. And the value here is the 35th guy on our big board, Caleb Houston. The reason why he's a value here is because he fits a need of the team immediately, which means he's probably going to grow into that role long term and get the minutes he needs to develop some of his weaknesses. So, Caleb Houston, I'm going to introduce you to him. He's a 6'8" freshman from Michigan. Really good three-point shooter. Has no other skill other than standstill threes and attacking closeouts, but has the athleticism and the good enough athleticism to become a 3-and-D guy in the future, just due to the length, 6'8". That's really tall, small forward. And why he's so important to the Thunder is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not an amazing 3 point shooter. Josh Giddey's biggest negative is 3 point shooting. We had them choosing Jade and Ivy and Jalen Duran in the draft. And both of those guys, Jalen Ivy is going to need time to develop into a 3 point shooter. So they need a guy like right now that can space that floor at the three or the four. And him being able to get to those minutes is going to help him to be able to maybe develop more skill than just standstill threes, or to be able to develop into a better defender by just getting in-game reps against NBA players. So it's a really good fit there. It's a really good, really, because there is, after Caleb Houston, there's nobody else that does that is that young. There's only one other 3D guy that'll be come off the board pretty soon. All right. So then after that, Orlando Magic are up. So since we drafted a center behind Mo Bamba, you just drafted Jabari Smith Jr. in our first round in our mock draft. So you're going to just choose the best guy available, who just fell out of circumstance and not out of his talent. And the guy that fell in this mock draft is Malachi Branham. Malachi Branham's a 6'5" shooting guard from Ohio State, 6'10" wingspan freshman. He's a really good 3 point shooter, standstill or coming off of screens, which is his versatility. He also does the same exact thing in the mid range. So you run him off those kind of actions, you'll get some headway from him. He can do the Terrence Ross type of role that they have long term, and you can let Terrence Ross go. And his 6'5" frame, 6'10" length gives the indicators of a guy who might be able to defend moving in the future. He's nothing more than an above average athlete, which is why he's not higher on the big board, but he does flash some mid-range shot creation for himself, which is going to be an intriguing thing to see if that'll be able to develop long term, because that could really lead to some really impressive things if he's able to develop that long term. So that's a really interesting thing and something that's good to look forward to for Malachi Branham from then he goes to Orlando. So yeah, best guy available is the guy that the Orlando Magic get. All right. The next pick in the draft, we have Portland. Portland's up and they choose, let me see here, on the big board, Walker Kessler. He has two first names. It's really funny. Walker Kessler is the 43rd guy on the big board. And why he's going off here is because he fits into the roster. So Walker Kessler is a guy and a center who really is great at defending the rim. He does a really great job of it. He does that at such a high level that it allows him to be valuable in the NBA. Now, he's not a great athlete, so I'm worried about his ability to switch. So you have to find a team for him. Actually, a good fit for him is a team that already has a starting center that can't switch. Because if you have a starting center that can't switch, you're already accounting for that disadvantage. And having Josef Nurkic as a starting center for the Portland Trailblazers, you already have a guy who can't switch, so why not have two of them? So he does shoot the 3 point shot. It's around 30%, so it's a good enough indicator moving the forward that he might be able to develop into a 3 point shooter moving forward. So I wouldn't be too flabbergasted if he's able to develop and have a nice career there in Portland. So I would go Walker Kessler there for them. All right. The next guy off the board is a really, really interesting international prospect from Italy. 33rd guy on my big board going to Sacramento Kings, giving them something they really need. Gabriel Procida. He's 20 years old, 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. Now, first things first, a guy that's 6'7" is kind of that magical height. Because in that magical height, I mean, oh my gosh, we need a guy at the two guard position to space the floor. Okay, he's 6'7", he can do that. Oh my goodness, we needed somebody at the three to space the floor. Oh my gosh, he's 6'7", he could do that. So it's like you can run out Davion Mitchell and De'Aaron Fox and have Gabriel Procida off the bench at the small forward position. Or you could just have De'Aaron Fox and Gabriel Procida and Harrison Barnes. And, you can put him at the two guard position. So that versatility gives him a multiple lineups and a coach multiple ways that he can use him. And what he does is shoot the lights out the basketball. 42% from the 3-point line. It's really impressive. He has beautiful form. He probably has the best form on his shot in the draft. It honestly reminds me of Kyle Korver. really phenomenally well taught on moving off ball, high tier off ball mover. So if you put some off the ball screens, it's he's really good. He's a little bit more of an athletic build. He's like a little bit more than Kyle Korver athletically. Like if you say Kyle Korver athletically is 100%, he's 110 or 105%. It's like just a smidge, So that could lead to a 3-and-D guy maybe in the future, but at the very least, you're going to get an elite three-point shooter. And the Kings can't shoot the three-point ball after losing Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton. So this guy's going to get some minutes. He's going to be able to develop, and he's going to fill a need day one. It's rare to do that in the second round, but this is why this draft is so unique, is the second round's really deep. Because I mean, this kind of guy, most drafts would be a late first round draft pick. I mean, the 50th guy on my mock draft, could be in the late first round for some people. It's just all about fit, and there's so many shooters, it's ridiculous. So it's a really interesting draft, and we're gonna keep it moving here to a guy like another guy can shoot. Next draft pick up is the San Antonio Spurs. The 34th guy on my big board comes off here, and his name's Wendell Moore Jr. from Duke. Jr., 6'5", 7-foot wingspan. Great wingspan. Definitely good indications of him defensively, and he's a good defender. He's a good three-point shooter, shoots really well, 36-37%. He's really one of those sneaky athletes where he's like sometimes like Tyrese Maxey. If you just watched him on film, you'd be like, in Kentucky, you'd be like, how athletic, how fast is he? And then he gets to the NBA, and you watch him against NBA competition, like, dear goodness, he's so fast. Some people are striders, where they don't like move their feet extremely quickly, and they just look a little slower than what they're really moving, and he's one of those guys. So that's really an interesting thing for Wendell Moore. He really has a smooth ability, Euro steps. He just seems like a footwork, has a polished game. He understands how to score. He has I really think he has high basketball IQ, intrinsic qualities that the Spurs would like. And, even though they might have a lot of shooting guards, getting a guy like this who can be a 3-and-D2 guard for like 10 years at the second round is really great value. So I'm choosing Wendell Moore here and the San Antonio Spurs 38th pick. All right. The next pick in the draft is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they draft a guy who really fits what they're trying to do as a team. So the top guy left on my board is the 32nd big guy on my big board. His name is Jamaree Bouyea. Now, he's a point guard senior from San Francisco. And this guy, 6'2", he's an above average to average athlete. Not an amazing or world-class finisher at the rim or an amazing passer, very average at both those things. But where he's special is he's a legitimate deep three-point shooter and deep three-point shot creator for himself. And, where this is a great pairing is one of the good things that the Atlanta Hawks did when they had Trae Young and Lou Williams is they had that second guy and the second ball handler that could stretch out the floor and be that shot creator that allowed them to run similar sets throughout as a team. And having Jamaree Bouyea run similar sets to Darius Garland, at least from a scoring perspective, can give the Cavs some congruency off the bench and really give them some punch off the bench. So this is a really good scheme fit. And a guy that actually could become a starter one day, but not above Darius Garland. I want to say that really quickly. He's never going to be better than DG, but he could become a borderline starter in the NBA. Yeah, I mean, when you can shoot it like that, upside's there. All right. We're going to go to the number 40 pick, and I told you guys in the first mock draft that I am going to fix the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we're going to draft a guy that's just going to be so key to this team winning. So this next guy is the 61st ranked guy in my big board, and the reason why is his name's Leaky Black, 6'8", small forward from North Carolina. He can't shot create to save his life. He shoots 34% from the 3-point line, but his shot looks a little worse than the 3-point percentage. So that's why he is where he is on the big board. But he can defend the lights out the basketball. I mean high tier defender, probably the fourth or the fifth best defender in the draft. That's how impressive he is. And the reason why you do this is you drafted Kendall Brown in the first round, you drafted Leaky Black in the second round. Go go look at the Phoenix Suns. Go look at them having Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. Look at that 3-4 rotation and how integral that is to today's modern NBA. Most teams have a center, and then they have two traditional small forwards. The power forward position is not as post entry guy. It's just not the same as it was about 10 to 15 to 20 years ago. And having two guys that you can rotate in, be 3-and-D wings, and definitely play defense is huge for the Timberwolves because they can't guard. Other than Pat Bev, that team can't guard anybody. Ant's not a good defender. D'Lo's not a good defender. Cat's a above average defender. But, it's having those two guys, man, make you more of a complete team. Have guys that do their roles and stars in the roles, and that's what the Timberwolves need. And I just made you a lot better, a lot better. You're welcome. All right, the next pick in the draft is a really interesting player from NC State. His name is Tariquan Smith. I don't know if I got the pronunciation correct, but 6'3" guard from NC State, freshman. This guy shoots 37% from the 3-point line. Has shot creation for himself, where it's a perimeter shot creator, which is interesting about him. He's not a great athlete, so it's not like he's tearing up the basket and getting to the rim at an elite level, or he's not really a good passer, like, at all. So I put in my notes that he should have went back to college to develop his passing ability, but he's here now, and having him off the bench for the Pelicans as the rotational two guard behind McCollum makes a lot of sense. Gives him a lot more punch off the two guard position, and I really feel like he's a really good fit here. Second round at the 41st pick in the draft is a really good fit. So, all right, next man up. At 42, the New York Knicks choose the best guy left on my big board at 36. J.D. Davidson, freshman point guard, 6'2", 6'6" wingspan. He's a really great athlete, speed, quickness, vertical. But other than that, not that great of a passer, not even a good passer. I would even call him an average to below average passer, and can't really shoot the 3-point shot. Doesn't really he has any mid-range pull-up game. I would have told him to go back to college. But for the Knicks, he has all the gifts to be a starting point guard in the NBA, or even an all-star point guard in the NBA, just because of his gifts athletically. So this is a guy that you can say, if we lose this pick and he becomes nothing, we just spent the 42nd pick in the draft on a guy. But it's one of those boomer bust picks. And truly, but this is what the draft's about, and he should have went back to college. But he develops, and you get an all-star point guard out of this. Then it's special. So yeah, I would take this developmental point guard, J.D. Davidson. All right. Next man up is a guy that I could really see making an impact on this team, and it's the Los Angeles Clippers with their first pick in the draft. And I really feel like this is a good pick. I really thought long and hard about this one, and it's Alondas Williams. So he's a 6'5", 6'7" point guard from Wake Forest. He's a triple-double guy. He's rebounds really well in college. He's not a great athlete. Yeah, calling him average or below average athlete might be accurate. But he's a high basketball IQ guy with a good passing ability. That's always going to be a big point guard. So that could be a really good fit on the Clippers, because having a rotational guy that's just going to do his role, be an efficient point guard as the backup, really can do something really well for this team. And I really feel like he can add to that team, and that's something, that weakness that I could see the Clippers having. And Alondas Williams is a really good fit for the Clippers, in my opinion. All right. Next man up, we have the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm gonna put some depth into a theme that I think they're gonna have moving forward. Onyeka Ongaku is the long-term center for that team. USC 6'9", freaky, guards multiple positions type of guy, and the number one guy on my big board is a 6'9" Trace Jackson from Wisconsin. He's a junior. And, he reminds me a lot of Kevon Looney, where it's good mover, good rebounder, heady guy. He can play in the post, but he has no real skill other than, rebounding, lobs, things of that nature. But he's really strong, and he just really looks like a small ball center that really, I really view him as he can't shoot a three to save his life. But long term, having him as the rotational center and a bar behind Oneka Ongaku is a really good find. So I would choose him, and I really feel like he's a long-term fit for the Hawks. All right. Next man up. I mean, you would talk about depth at shooting guys that can shoot the three. This is just a great example of it. Christian Braun. I mean, this guy would be a late first round draft pick in most drafts as well. 6'7", 6'6" wingspan. From Kansas, the NBA championship team. He can shoot the 3-point shot, man, like high 30s 3-point shooting. He flashes some ability to score and some footwork, but he's not that great of an athlete or not highly skilled. So it's not like he's going to be this world beater scoring wise. I just really view him as a guy that's going to at least develop into a shooter. The Charlotte Hornets could use a rotational guy that can stretch the floor, and yeah, I feel like he can be a rotational piece. And yeah, Christian Braun would really fit on the Charlotte Hornets. I really feel like overall, if we look at their draft, I mean, they added Shaden Sharp, Keegan Murray, and Christian Braun. That's really a really good haul if they ended up doing this. So, hopefully this works out for them. I really like what they're doing there. I like their GM, and I love watching them on the ball play. So, yeah. All right. Next man up is somebody that can really be fluid on where people view him being drafted. And this Detroit Pistons choose Marion Beauchamp, 42nd guy on my big board. Now, this guy's got 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan from the G League. He's a gifted athlete. He finishes around the rim real well. But other than that, he has no skill. He shoots 25% for the 3-point line, shoots 65% for the free throw line. There's a lot to be worried about. But his athleticism leads to the idea that he can be a defender, and he can at least be an athlete in the way he attacks the rim. And if you're Detroit, you can take a chance on a guy like this. Like if it's the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Golden State Warriors or something like that, he could be out of the league in 3 years because he's not ready to win now. But this is a guy you draft and stash for 4 years, and check what grew in the last 4 years. Because if this guy develops into a guy that can shoot a 3-point shot, then heck, he could be your starting 2 guard long term. Because he does have special athletic traits, and he has parts and pieces of the puzzle. It's just he's got to work on it. You know what I mean? I would probably want to sit him down, see if he's a worker, if he wants to be more than just a athlete, but I just don't see any skill, which is why I have him here. And the Memphis Grizzlies have the next pick, and they draft somebody that's a really interesting guy here, the 63rd guy on my big board. This shows you how fluid this big board is and how many good players in the second round there are. Justin Lewis, 6'7", 7'2" wingspan. That's ridiculous, from Marquette. He's huge. I mean, the guy is rocked up. He's a good 3-point shooter, and he has some mid-range and post skill. I wish I could see the mid-range shot creation a little bit more. So it's not like he's like a great shot creator for himself, but there's really potential for the 3-point shooting and the defending and just being a good rotational power forward in the future. And, Memphis Grizzlies, from their draft so far, from what I had them doing, I had them drafting Bryce McGowan's and Christian Coloco. And Bryce McGowan's a really great shooting guard coming off the bench, and Coloco's a rotational center, and Justin Lewis a rotational power forward. You know, you building pieces there for your bench because I already have Kyle Anderson. They got guys that aren't terrible off that bench, but I really Tyus Jones is pretty solid as well. So they really added a lot to their bench long term in this draft, in my opinion. So these are some good prospects here. So all right, the next man up, we are at the Minnesota Timberwolves again. And plot twist, you think we're not going for another 3-and-D guy? You're wrong. We strike again. His name is Vince Williams, 6'6", senior from VCU. This guy's a really good shooter. He defends well enough and he attacks closeouts. He has backup two guard potential. So this guy can really be a backup two guard, defender, all those type of things. So there's potential there. And then at the next pick, we have Sacramento Kings, and they add a long-term center rotational piece that could be something. Khalifa Diop, 6'11". He's from overseas. He's got a really strong body, good rebounder. He's a good athlete, and he'll be a good rim runner due to athleticism and a shot blocker. Great size. So that's just a raw center piece that they can develop long term, and it could really be helpful for them because they don't have a great center position. And then number 50, Minnesota strikes again. You might have missed on one of these defensive guys, so why not draft another one? Dalen Terry from Arizona, 41st guy on my big board. This guy is going to be able to be a two guard and defend and shoot threes and be athletic and 6'5". So that's another guy that can guard. They need as many people, take as many shots from the gun to get people who can be 3D guys. And this is another guy that fits into that role. So I would definitely draft Dalen Terry here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Golden State Warriors strike again. They have the 51st pick in the draft, and they're going to draft Darren Holmes, 2, I'm guessing, or senior. I don't know exactly how that is supposed to end, but he's from Dayton, freshman, 6'9". Very mobile, very athletic, loves to defend, and rebounds well and lob threat. What did I just describe? A small ball center. Look, Kevon Looney's not going to be, the same guy forever. He's kind of looking like he's slowing down athletically, so just get another guy that you can develop 3 years from now. Maybe he's a rotational piece of the center position and take a shot at it here. So it's the 51st pick in the draft. Just take shots. So yeah, this is what they're going to do here. 51. At number 52, we got the New Orleans Pelicans, and they're going to draft a guy that could really have a chance of making the roster and being a rotational piece. Is Johnny Juzang, 6'6", 6'11" wingspan from UCLA. He is so much a poor man's Chris Duarte. It's insane, where it's just Chris Duarte in college was a good three-point shooter, had a really good game, footwork, shot creation for himself, and Johnny Juzang's just like has flashes of it, but just doesn't do it a lot. He's not a very aggressive guy. It plays within the UCLA scheme, so Johnny Juzang's the 52nd guy on my big board, so I would definitely take a shot here on him. Next pick is the Boston Celtics, and the biggest need I think they have is point guards, and they're gonna go ahead and draft the 50th guy on my big board, Hugo Besson, 6'5", 6'5" wingspan, point guard from New Zealand. He's very skilled, scoring and getting a shot off, but he's not a great athlete, but he's a pretty decent passer as well. So, getting a guy that's at your weakness position to develop long term, and maybe he becomes something, is the right kind of shot to take here really late in the second round. So Hugo Besson is who's going here. All right. At 54, we have the Washington Wizards, and they take a shot here on a center, which is a really tough name, Ebo Ndigi. That's a tough one. 7'1". He's the 57th guy on my big board. Really athletic, moves really well, extremely raw. Yeah, but he has good shooting form and the potential to become a starting center in the NBA. It's just going to take time. So this is a boom or bust center, really raw. Give him some time, and maybe he'll develop into something. All right, at 55, we have a really interesting draft pick for the Golden State Warriors. Somebody that um really came on my radar really early on, and I'm so surprised that I found a spot for him. He's the 83rd guy on my big board. It tells you how specialized some teams are, but he is from Northern Iowa. AJ Green, 6'4". He is really not that athletic. He even looks unathletic against competition in Northern Iowa, so that's why he's really low. But he can really shoot the three-point shot, and he can shot creation for himself from deep three-point range. He could come off pick and rolls and do those type of things. He does it at a really low level, but I think it's worth taking a shot on because he fits into the scheme of what they do at the point guard position. It's just a much more watered down version of it. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Poole's younger than him, but taking a shot here at the 55th pick overall on a guy that might be able to become something as a rotational guy, but it can at least shoot the three-point shot is AJ Green here. All right, number 56, the Cleveland Cavaliers choose Oscar Schwebe. Now, I really love what the Cavs are doing with three bigs and having this, unique, really, really tall lineup. So drafting a guy that could fit into that and add to that rotation is really important here. And this is what he does. Oscar Schwebe is 6'9" from Kentucky, rebounds the heck out of that basketball. Extremely strong human being, has good post game just because of pure raw strength. Doesn't have a ton of skill and moves extremely slow, so that's why he's a rotational power forward. But he can really be a really good player in the Cavs just because out of fit. He's the 40th guy on my big board, so it's a good value for the Cavs. And next man off the board is at 57. We have Julian Strawrer. He's the 53rd guy on my big board. He's 6'7". He's smooth, not really special athletically, but has beautiful shooting form. Arc on his shot 38% from the 3-point line. 3-point line this year, and that's a guy that can shoot off the bench, and that's his potential. So that's where he's going for the Portland Trail Blazers. The next man up, the last man in the draft, is 58th pick. Indiana Pacers choose Jordan Hall, 6'8", St. Joe sophomore, shoots 35% from the 3-point line. He's a good shot creator and skill, but he lacks athleticism. Is facing very low D1 and talent, which is why he's so low on the big board at 54. But he's a good fit there, and he's a good fit on the team, and he's a guy that you take a shot on and you miss. It was the last pick in the draft, so that's what it is. This has definitely been fun. You guys probably heard per part one already. We're very excited to be live streaming the draft on Thursday on YouTube. We'll be live stream reacting to it, not like actually you can watch the draft, but we'll be reacting to every draft pick and giving our commentary and all those type of things. Actually, just be me, and we'll be making a post on TikTok and Instagram just so you guys get a teaser, get a feel of this is what's going to be happening. So we really appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Any sort of reviews, 5-star reviews, anything really helps us out. We're really trying to grow our brand and grow a community of people that can all enjoy our podcast together. So yeah, I'm Jason Collins. We are the Basketball Addicts.